Maintaining a corridor for the public to move from one place to the other and freight, I think is vitally important. If we're going to have economic development in our part of the world, we need good transportation.
The geography or the boundaries of the Heartland Highway stretch from Des Moines, Iowa over to Galesburg, Illinois. Des Moines, Iowa is the location of the crossing of Interstate 35 and 80, and Galesburg is the location of Interstate 74. And these are important points because between Galesburg and Des Moines is a major freight route. Interstate 80 is becoming rapidly congested, it's deteriorating, and the proportion of truck flows versus car flows is such that it's becoming less efficient for traveling motorists and freight carriers to follow that route. And we have a 4-lane corridor from Galesburg going through our region, also leading to Des Moines. This is Highway 163 and Highway 34. So this caused us to think, why not do our own study to investigate the freight carrying potential of this own thoroughfare and potentially benefit the state of Iowa by providing an alternative freight route where a significant investment has already been made and wouldn't have to be made into the I-80 corridor.
A lot of this is about creating this route as an alternative to Interstate 80. So they're looking at ways to market the corridor and the highway. And then one of the other tasks, I think probably most of the questions will be related to, is an access management agreement, which basically is about creating a corridor where traffic can move freely and as it's intended without stopping. If you think about driving on an interstate, the only way you can get on and off an interstate is at an interchange, and that is very limited access. Now, when we're looking at the Highway 34 and 63 corridor that we're focused on, the Heartland Highway, there are interchanges, but there are also what we consider or call at-grade access, where the side roads come directly onto the highway. And those are the points that can cause a lot of safety issues, can slow traffic down, and those are the types of things that we're trying to limit in the future to, again, promote free flow of traffic and improve safety of the highway.
There were only a few communities like Ottumwa and Burlington in the United States that did not have a 4-lane highway serving their community. And we decided that this was very important to the future growth of Ottumwa, and we started working on this. We had a lot of reasons to be concerned about not having a 4-lane highway. And the 2-lane 163 to Des Moines was narrow, curvy, and dangerous. And so these are reasons that we really feel that 4 lanes are very important and why we put all this effort into it. As we travel to Des Moines, you'll find that 163 has more stoplights being put in on the east side of Des Moines, and we felt that this was wrong. We felt that the state and federal government had put up a lot of money to invest in this highway and get it developed, and that it needs to remain as a 4-lane expressway and not have a lot more stoplights, because that slows down traffic, and that isn't what we wanted. So we began to talk about what we could do, and one of the things was that we needed to probably brand this highway, and that's where we came up with the Heartland Highway.
Looking at the significant investment that was already made in our region and in other regions, this highway, it was around a $100 million investment by the state of Iowa. Why shouldn't we leverage that to our greatest benefit and to the state's greatest benefit? There's other stakeholders too. There's freight companies, there's businesses, local governments, of course, and the state of Iowa and the Federal Highway Administration. And so our first role after hatching the idea and discussing it enough where we thought it was legitimate was to communicate the idea with the other parties and then bring them together in order to generate some momentum for the project.
If we move freight through here, their ground's going to go up, and they will have to put up the frontage road. And that's what we want, is frontage roads. And we want the roads to come out and swing back so that they come back into the road that's existing with a 300-foot setback, so that there's room to stack the traffic up. There's big warehouses. Walmart has a big warehouse in Mount Pleasant, and they want to move that freight as fast as they can. They get on the highway, have it coming in and going out.
Southeast Iowa Regional Planning is a voluntary association of regional governments. We were formed in 1973, and we perform various functions for the local governments. That may vary from grant writing to program management, being a conduit for federal or state funds. We do any sort of activity that allows our region to develop. Our region consists of 4 counties. Des Moines County, Henry County, Loiza, and Lee counties were the 4 most southeastern counties in Iowa. We're along the Mississippi River, we're along the Des Moines River. We're one of the earliest regions to develop, and so we have a long history in railroad activities, manufacturing. It has a lot of older networks developed there. We have a great leadership organization with our board of directors on the Planning Commission. And they've set the foundation for us to do these various tasks by making sure that the funds are there for us to do that. And we've reciprocated by showing them the results of the funding.
I think our COG has really stepped forward on this. Southeast Iowa Regional Planning has done a really nice job of pushing, and I don't want any of the others to lose interest because they're all very equally interested in it.
This is a voluntary thing, and I wasn't elected to this position as co-chairman, but it's something that I feel is important, and therefore I stepped up and said I would be the chairman. Currently, we're trying to get these counties and cities to sign on the limited access, and so one of the things that I've been doing is talking to some of the cities and encouraging them to go ahead and sign.
None of our entities really have any power to force anybody to sign on to the project. It's all about the personal relationships and the information that we're giving them to persuade them to be a part of the project.
We have to come up with a way to show them that this isn't going to hurt them. It has to be for their good.
They're concerned about losing local control, and that they may have some future economic development projects that they may want. And this is what we're exploring now, other ways that they will still have some options, because that's what people want. They don't want to be locked into something and controlled by the state or a master plan. And so we want to leave this so that they don't feel that they're being locked into and told what to do. All we can do is talk to these people and encourage them and try to get them to see the big picture. We don't want to see this highway become slowed down because of lights and stop signs.
But essentially what the agreement between the agencies would do is limit future access and have them focus any future development where they already have the infrastructure in place or the roads in place. I'd say for the most part, most of the comments and everything that we receive is very positive. They understand the general idea that we're trying to make the highway safer, we're trying to get more traffic through Southeast Iowa, which is an economic development opportunity for them. I think most people understand that and they see that and they believe in that. But then there's the few people, and I think it's really the conflict of they have their own ideas. They see that we're working against that. In one county, what they've said is when the highway was built, landowners had to sign an agreement with Iowa DOT, and those agreements provide them with certain access points. And so what somebody said is by signing this agreement, they lose that ability. What the agreement actually says is if the access is already in place, then it will stay there. Typically what we do is we do a presentation to the city council about the agreement, and then they will review it and talk about it amongst themselves, and then usually do some type of formal resolution or vote amongst the council or the supervisors, and that's pretty much it. No power, no authority whatsoever. I mean, really it's based on trying to present them with an idea or a concept that they all believe in or that they agree upon. I think they feel like I'm trying to push something on them. Really, I'm just trying to educate them, but they feel like I'm this guy coming from the outside and really pushing something on them and trying to force something on them. It's essentially a stock presentation that I was doing to every organization, and I really realized from that meeting that a couple things. First off, I needed to make it more graphical and easy to understand for people. And the second thing is to make it more local. Provide them specific examples of their community and how it affects them. I think they really start to understand that, okay, we can look at this and really think about it and decide if it's valuable for our community or not. I'd say we're about 50% of the way through. We have 16 entities that have actually signed the agreement out of 28. And then we have, I would say, 2 to 3 that are, I wouldn't say they're completely against the agreement, but I think we need to continue to work with them for their education and just talk about what the issues are, what they have conflicts with. And then the rest of the agencies appear to be supportive of the agreement. They just haven't necessarily seen it as the top priority for them right now. Our biggest concern right now, it's not necessarily a specific city per se, but it's any of the urban areas on the fringes, I guess is what I'll call it. Most of the city's been bypassed with interchanges, but then the real difficult areas for us are right when you get off of that bypass and out of the urban area. We're concerned about development on those fringe areas just outside the urban area. I think some of the unique challenges there really are the stoplights, and that's really come about because of commercial pressure. There's a large high school, elementary school, and really what's happened is they don't have a supporting road network there. The highway is their main route, and so over time they've used that to develop gas stations, car dealership. And basically that pressure has required certain safety improvements. There's a lot of turn lanes, which really defeats the purpose of a 4-lane highway.
Evidently, the DOT has made some arrangements with the folks at Pleasant Hill because they keep putting stop signs in. They put all that new infrastructure in there. They just as well put a frontage road in and get it all to one spot. If they'd run a frontage road down both sides and get it a mile down there and then go out another way and come back when it does grow out, put an interchange in, and then they can justify it. But right now, I just can't see slowing the traffic down, and they're gonna have all that stuff built up, and then they have to buy it back when it's high priced.
You've got those interests with the people who own that land who obviously want to develop it, and so, when they learn about this agreement, they tend to think that that's really gonna devalue their property and make it harder for them to develop. We'll start to see them maybe put some pressure on the city council. And I think that makes that more difficult for us to go in and get the city on board with the 2080 agreement.
As volunteers and not meeting, on a regular basis, not having a staff, using the area planning agencies, we aren't as aggressive maybe as we should be. But yes, we want to do more in marketing it. But we feel that as we develop this highway, or as it's been developed, and as more and more use it, the word gets around, and we're seeing more and more trucks on it all the time. One of the problems as a leader is a lot of times other people don't share your same vision. And so part of what you have to do is sell people on that vision. And I think that's part of leadership. When it's completed, you look back and say, man, this was worth it. Even though it took over 20 years to get this completed, it was really worth it. And that's what drives me in looking ahead, that I believe that some effort now can really pay off so that we don't get all kinds of stoplights and stop signs. And it's having that vision and wanting to have this as a better place for manufacturing and for living and working here.
It's actually in excellent shape. The 4-lane has been built for maybe 4 or 5 years. It's in great condition. The traffic numbers have increased a decent amount. So really, at this point in time, it's in great condition. From a safety standpoint, overall, it's pretty safe, but we've got the 2080 agreement, hopefully, so we don't have the problems in the future where we have to come back and fix something. That's kind of the whole idea of the agreement, is really to keep the highway as it is today.